It's about to go down in a minute. Let me touch down. I'ma get it. Cause I been waiting all night.
Hello, and welcome to this episode of Spittin Sports with Lamar. I am Casey Lamar, and I'm coming at you from the 256. For today's episode, I decided to combine tight ends and then defense and special teams. I decided to combine those two into one video because there's just not as much there to really go over or talk about. Those are pretty straightforward. So I decided to just combine those into one episode and go ahead and get those out of the way so I didn't have to, I guess, bore you with talking about fantasy football anymore if you don't like talking about it. But tomorrow we will be back to the normal format, talk about what happened the day before. So yes, tight ends, defense, and special teams, all one video today, back to the normal format tomorrow. But I'm just going to get right into it. The tight ends, the top 10 projected goes as follows. No surprise, Rob Gronkowski is at the top. Another one that is not a surprise is Travis Kelce of Kansas City. Zach Ertz from the Eagles comes in at 3. Greg Olsen of the Panthers is projected at 4. Delaney Walker, been very quiet. I'll talk about him in a second again. Delaney Walker comes in at 5 from the Titans. Evan Ingram, I'll talk about him again in a second. At 6. Jimmy Graham, he's now in Green Bay, at 7. Jordan Reed of the Redskins at 8. Kyle Rudolph of the Vikings at 9. And Jack Doyle of the Colts at 10. So I'm just going to go right into it. There's only 6 that I actually like that I believe having on your team will be a benefit and contribute on a week in and week out basis. And even one of those for me is kind of iffy. But Rob Gronkowski, he's missed at least one game over the last 5 or 6 seasons. He missed 2 last year. Durability is a concern. Durability and health is a concern with him. But if he's on the field, he's scoring points. You can bank on that. Travis Kelce, he has been the number 1 tight end the last 2 years when it comes to fantasy points. His production may be hurt, or his efficiency may be hurt with the new quarterback in Kansas City and Patrick Mahomes, but he's still going to see a high volume of targets, and in turn will produce on top of that. Zach Ertz is another one that's going to be solid. 8 touchdowns, career high last year. Targeted, very, very, very consistent. Started the season last year with 10 points in every game. Had a couple down games, then he had 15, 13, 15. So, and that's just over the first 8 or 9 weeks. Zach Ertz, you can bank on it. Greg Olsen, this is where I start getting iffy. Last year, he missed all of last year. So, basically all of last year. And that's a concern for me. He's starting to get a little older. He was Cam Newton's top target for however long, and he may still be. But I would be concerned about Greg Olsen. He's one of those I'd kind of skip over if I could. Delaney Walker, he's been top 5 every year that he's been in Tennessee. Mariota's favorite guy. Delaney Walker is the top tight end for the Titans. Still is in my opinion. Very underrated, very overlooked. But he's going to see a high volume as he has since he got to Tennessee. Delaney Walker, that's one that you can't go wrong with. He might not score like Kelce or Gronkowski, but he's going to be consistent for you. Evan Ingram, I think he's set up to be breakout. Last year, for me, I picked him up off the waivers in one of my leagues. It was the steal of the entire waiver because people are hunting for tight ends. They're a tight end, you get no production, especially if you don't get some of the guys that I've said above. You get nothing out of it. You might get 8 points, then you get 0 3 weeks in a row. So it's very up there. Evan Ingram, he's one of my favorites. He's another one that you want from the Giants, especially in an offense that expected to be revitalized, ready to go again. Jimmy Graham, I actually like Jimmy Graham since he is in Green Bay. If he wasn't there with Aaron Rodgers as his quarterback, the only other place I'd like him at is in New England with Tom Brady throwing him the ball. But Jimmy Graham in Green Bay, I think he's a safe pick. But that's just me. I think he's a safe pick. But like I said, Greg Olsen's questionable. Another questionable one is Kyle Rudolph. He does score some points here and there, but it's here and there. So if you can get one of the 6 because the six, I'll just go ahead and say the six that I say pick up if you can. Obviously, you want to go Gronk first, but if one of these six are there, when you're looking for a tight end, grab them. Gronkowski, Travis Kelce, Zach Ertz, Delaney Walker, Evan Ingram, Jimmy Graham. If you can get those, get those. Greg Olsen, if he's a second option and he's still there, or maybe he's your first, that's fine. Grab him. Kyle Rudolph, he's another questionable one. They have Kirk Cousins this year. Maybe it'll be a little bit more consistent for him, but I'd be iffy about him. One that I do not like whatsoever, and he's in the top 10 because he's projected to be one of the top tight ends every year, and he doesn't do anything with it. Jordan Reed. Whether it's injury or if he decides to punch somebody in the face on the field. Jordan Reed, do not pick Jordan Reed because he lets you down every year. I've never had him, but I've seen people get him. He's highly projected. In my opinion, don't get him. You'll just be sad. And then the last, which is funny, I believe 10th was the last spot to have a tight end projected to get over 100 points, which was Jack Doyle. But he's playing for the Colts. If Andrew Luck's there, sure, maybe they'll be all right. But outside of those six that I said before, there's really nobody. You'll probably be playing, rotating every week, hunting for one. Although one that I do like, outside all this, he's not going to put up big numbers this year because he does play for the Browns. He might be more consistent because they did try to give him the ball last year in Cleveland, but the quarterback, everybody knows how that went for Cleveland last year. But David Njoku, I think he's one of the better candidates to really have a consistent season, to seek targets and be consistent, especially with a better quarterback situation in Cleveland, even with, sure, Baker Mayfield could challenge, whatever, but I still think no matter who it is, obviously Tyrod Taylor is going to start, which I think that's fine. But Tyrod Taylor or Baker Mayfield, I think he's in a good spot to see a consistent amount of passes thrown his way and have a decent season. But if you want to score points out of the tight end, and the tight ends that I'm going to be looking for were those six: Rob Gronkowski, Travis Kelce, Zach Ertz, Delaney Walker, Evan Ingram, Jimmy Graham. I know I've probably already said it 400 times, but those are the six that I would aim for. The rest of them, it's iffy. Greg Olsen, I could basically put him in that group to pick, but maybe he gets hurt again. But that's really what I like with the tight ends. Yeah, I'll just move on to defense now. This will be very brief. I'm just going to talk about the top 10 real quick, because defense is another one of those that you never know what's going to happen. Your defense could score 35 points or they could score -5. So we'll just start with the top 10. Jacksonville Jaguars, number one, rightfully so, defending number one. They just, from the linebackers to the linemen to the secondary, they are legit. Obviously, there's going to be points scored on them here or there, but reigning number one defense, I expect them to be number one again. And then number two, they have the Eagles projected at 2. I don't think they'll be that high, but big plays, whether it's a punt block, kick block, fumble, interception, scoring some touchdowns, the Eagles do that. But I don't think they'll finish that high. But a good defense to have. They'll be worth having. Patriots is a surprising one to me because you never really think of the Patriots defense, but they can be good. They're just solid defense in general, not necessarily scoring touchdowns or anything. They only scored 1 last year. They did add but this is defense and special teams. But they did add Cordero Patterson, who has 5 kick returns in his career. So they do have that in their back pocket. The Texans come in at 4, and this is purely banked off of health, because if they're not healthy, it's probably not going to be a good thing for them. But on paper, they're one of the top defenses in the league when they're healthy. When you have J.J. Watt, when you have everybody that's supposed to be on the field, you're going to be a good defense. They're just all based off health, so I'd be wary with them. Vikings, that's a defense I would not hesitate to pick. They finished first in 2016, and last year they just didn't have the big plays. They only scored 1 touchdown. That's the only thing they were lacking last year. The Rams are another one that I believe are going to finish higher up than they're ranked currently. They're at 6th. But they added Marcus Peters and Aqib Talib. Then they added Ndamukong Suh to go with Aaron Donald and Michael Brockers. The linebackers aren't as stout, but they are going to wreak some havoc. The team in general, I talked about it in my Todd Gurley video after he signed that contract. The team is expected to do a lot, and I can obviously see why. Maybe they won't be as good as people believe they will be, but you won't go wrong picking them. The Ravens are always a good defense. They check in at 7. They return 97% of their snaps. They led the league in interceptions, total interceptions for the second straight year. Not going to have any issues if you have the Ravens defense. The Broncos, they're 8th, but I expect them to finish outside the top 10. They got rid of Talib. They're just starting to regress. They fell off last year from the elite level that they were before, and I expect to see more of that. They're just starting to slow down. It's like the Seahawks. Nobody could do anything to the Seahawks. Now the Seahawks are in the lower 5 for defense, lower 5 or 6 for defense. It's all about Russell Wilson in Seattle now. But Broncos, I expect them to fall off a little bit, and we don't know how good that offense really is going to be this year, so they might be stuck on the field quite a lot. The Titans, this is a team I expect to jump into the top 5. They had a solid defense last year. They just didn't produce turnovers or score touchdowns. Like last year, they were 18th in their total interceptions and 24th in forced fumbles, but they still finished relatively high. If they could just get some touchdowns and score some points and cause a few more turnovers, they'll go up there. And they just got better. So, and then Adoree Jackson started last year. It's his second year. I just think they'll take another step and they'll become one of those defenses you don't want to see. And one of the divisions that's a laughingstock is now one of the better divisions in football with the AFC South. But the Chargers, move on. Chargers come in at 10. Excellent secondary. And they have one of the scariest edge rushing combos in the entire league. Melvin Ingram. They got the team of Melvins. But no, the Chargers, they have one of the scariest edge rushing combos, and Melvin Ingram and Joey Bosa. But that's really all there is to talk about defense. You don't want the Jets, you don't want the 49ers, you don't want the Giants. The Giants are trying to get better, but I'm just saying they're pretty low on the list as well. There's just some you don't want. Seahawks, don't stay away from them. Again, defense is another matchup play. You could just rotate them. That's often what I've done. Rotate a defense. If I don't have one that I know is going to be good, find one off the waivers that has a good matchup. Like if whoever's playing the Colts, if Andrew Luck isn't playing, you might want to pick them up, no matter how bad they are. Last year, like with the 49ers, before they got Garoppolo, whoever was playing them, pick them up, put them in. Kickers, I don't even want to talk. I'm not even going to talk about kickers because you're looking at a guy that accidentally drafted a kicker in the 3rd round before. So that's another rotating thing as well. I often rotate kickers unless you just have like Justin Tucker. So, but I will go ahead and close there. That will conclude my take on fantasy football for you all. Hope I was a help. If I wasn't, I apologize. Hopefully I gave you a little bit of insight of some sort. Anyway, but remember, I am going to live stream. One of my live drafts because all my drafts that I'm in will be live this year. But I will live stream one of those right here on YouTube. And I will give you those details as soon as I have them. We've only activated leagues. We haven't set up times or dates just quite yet. But also I wanted to say, don't forget, if you enjoyed, go ahead and leave a like. Share with anybody that may need a little bit of fantasy football help if you think I can help them. But and subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed. It goes a long way. I appreciate it. Because I do it because I like doing it, and it's only better when other people like it too. So go ahead and subscribe if you so feel the need. But tomorrow, back to the normal Spittin' Sports. But this has been Spittin' Sports with Lamar. I am Casey Lamar, and I look forward to talking to you all tomorrow.